Welcome to another episode of In Your Business, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories, strategies, and insights of business and community leaders and entrepreneurs making a real difference. I'm your host, Reeves Kurtner. Season 2 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Auto Mall of Huntington. Online at mosesmeansmore.com and powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications. This week, we're joined by Leslie Norris, Director of Mountain Mindful. Mountain Mindful is a social enterprise headquartered in Huntington that creates custom apparel, furniture from reclaimed wood, and even self-care products. They are dedicated to hiring people who face barriers to employment, such as those recovering from substance use disorder or former workers from the coal economy. Leslie shares more about their mission and history, producing environmentally sustainable products, the impact of hiring and training workers who face significant barriers to employment, and so much more. Let's get in your business. Leslie, thank you so much for stopping in. As you know, I'm a huge fan of what you all do. Every time I get to talk to you about what Mountain Mindful does, I'm just more and more blown away by all the awesome stuff that you guys are doing. So, and you know, you and I, we spoke earlier this year, and this year you've said, like, hey, we want to tell our story, right, of what Mountain Mindful is, what all we do, because there's so many people that I tell people about, and they're like, what is this? Where is this? Who is this? Whatever. So let's start from the very, very beginning. What's the origin story of Mountain Mindful, and how did it get started? And let's just start there.
So ultimately, we began on Earth Day 2021, so a pretty exciting time to launch a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
And we work with reclaimed materials, recycled materials, organic materials for our lifestyle brand. We have an apparel line, self-care products, and then also woodworking, so home furnishing and office.
Yes. So 2021 it got started. Did not start in Huntington, right?
Yeah, so originally there was another screen printing shop that was acquired by Coalfield Development, and that's our parent company. They took the bones of that screen printing shop and an eco-centric mission for that, and then turned that into the lifestyle brand that became Mountain Mindful.
Okay, so and that was that 2021?
Yeah. So
has it been in Huntington since 2021?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so it started up in Morgantown, and then now, and you came from Morgantown with
correct.
it, right?
Yep.
To Huntington.
Correct.
So in 2021, when it started, was it always doing T-shirts and apparel and skincare and woodworking, or did that all kind of change and evolve as it went along?
From the get-go, that was the fusion of products we wanted. We wanted to have a complete lifestyle brand that was central in Appalachia, that really had a focus on sustainability, but also the folks that were working with us. So everyone that we employ, all of our crew members have different barriers to employment, from generational poverty to substance abuse disorder. We meet them where they're at. They have on-the-job training while they work with us, and that can be in our wood shop, or that could be in custom apparel. And through those, that on-the-job training, they kind of get these different skill sets, and then after 3 years with us, they go out into the world and become a part of the Appalachian workforce.
Well, let's talk more about that. I mean, the mission. Talk about the mission of Mountain Mindful.
Sure. So we have a triple bottom line of people, planet, profit.
Okay.
And we really kind of look at it in that order. So the folks that we employ is like the heart of what we do. That on-the-job training gives them soft skills and job training that will unleash them into the workforce to pursue their own goals. But we also want to focus on the planet component of that, which is making sure that the materials we're using are sustainable and environmentally friendly. So that looks like reclaimed materials in our wood shop,
right,
organic and recycled materials in apparel. And then we partner for our lifestyle brand with different vendors through Appalachia that align with our vision and goals.
Sure. So let's talk about, again, hiring people, working with people who face barriers to employment and so forth. How does that process work? How do you find those people? Let's start there.
Sure.
How do they know? How do you find them?
Sure. So we have a parent company called Coalfield Development.
Yes.
So if you go to coalfielddevelopment.org, you can see a job board there. That's how folks can apply to become a part of our RAPS training program. And so that's initially how crew members come to us.
So I mean, I should almost do a separate episode with Coalfield Development, probably too,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because the work they do is incredible.
Yes. Can you give us an overview of the work they do? Can you give us the elevator story of that?
So Much bigger picture there. Coalfield has a bunch of different enterprises, Mountain Mindful being one of them. But they do have, at the core of what they're doing, they're looking to rebuild the Appalachian economy from the ground up.
Right.
And
post-coal, right?
Exactly.
A lot of times they talk about post-coal.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And you all are, you're owned, they're your parent company. And so are all the other like Coalfield development, businesses, do they have the same ideas of like sustainability and hiring people with substance abuse and so forth?
Sure, yeah,
things
absolutely.
Like
for example, Refresh Appalachia does like farming and greenhouse work, and so those crew members would be on the job training in that. But
okay.
A part of that, for whether you're in Mountain Mindful or one of the other enterprises, we're all a part of the 33, 6, and 3 work model. And what that is 33 hours a week of paid on the job training.
Okay.
6 hours a week for pursuing your education.
Okay.
So to pursue, ideally by the end of the time with us, you'll have an associate's degree in a field that interests that crew member. And then the 3 hours is for personal development and reflection. So that's where they can take that 3 paid hours a week to pursue things that help them achieve their goals.
Sure. How many employees do you have?
Right now, we have around 11 crew members right now on Mountain Mindful's team.
Yes.
And then we have a staff of around 10.
21 total?
Yeah, and that fluctuates as we have crew members come in and graduate out.
Yeah.
And then we do have some really beautiful success stories of crew members.
So I'm going to ask, give me some success stories.
Yeah, so just recently we had a crew member who had graduated out of the program a little over a year ago come back, and they're now a crew chief.
Okay.
So they're now in that mentorship role.
Got it.
And I can't think of a more beautiful way to show our trainees and crew members like the success that can happen. Like now you can even be in a mentorship role and helping people through similar challenges that they faced.
Does it hurt sometimes when they leave, or are you always happy? Or is it both? Is it bittersweet?
It's a bittersweet celebration. And
Sure.
we do make it a celebration. So we'll all get together. Coalfield as a whole,
yes.
We'll get together and have moments where we bring them up on stage, we celebrate them, we talk about their accomplishments, and we give everyone a chance. We pass the mic, and there's some tears, but it's mostly joy to see how far these folks have come.
How does the training work? How do you try to find them placement after they graduate, complete the programs?
Through Coalfield, there's a lot of different services that they can tap into, and then also a larger network of services. But really, like within Mountain Mindful, we by the time they come out of our program, they've either gone through the wood shop and they've learned a lot of different skills there, or they've gone through apparel, and so screen printing, embroidery, things of that nature. But they've also learned soft skills. They have things like their OSHA 10 certification, CPR, things like that. So
sure.
there's extensive training all the way through.
How many people have completed the program so far?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Estimate.
I would say for Mountain Mindful, we would be in the a few dozen so far.
Okay.
So, but Coalfield General, that I'd have to look into to get that number.
Where do your employees come from? Are they all in the Huntington region, or do you have them kind of all over Appalachia?
So for Mountain Mindful, most of them.
I want to talk about Mountain Mindful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So within Mountain Mindful, most of our folks are within commuting distance.
Okay.
I'm sure we've probably had a few that have relocated, but generally, they're within the Huntington.
They are already here, that kind of stuff. And again, we've not talked about the location, West Edge Factory.
Yes.
Westmoreland?
Yeah, Westmoreland, and I believe it was the old Corbin factory before, and so
old Corbin factory.
Yes.
Old is the key word, right?
Yes, and so West Edge is just an incredible building. Mountain Mindful is one social enterprise within it, but there's an art gallery in there that they're doing amazing things with. There's also a live event venue that happens in the front 14. I would highly recommend checking out West Edge on Instagram, Facebook. They have events, music venues, craft fairs, tons of artists come through. A lot of like really cool stuff is happening there all the time. I just get really stoked that like I get to go to their work every day.
I'm with you. I've told you my story again before this, last year, whatever it was, when we first met. This winter, I think we first met. But Luke Huffman, who is at West Edge Factory, who works with us at 9th Street Live, he's like, you got to go check his place out. You got to check it out. I'm like, all right, whatever. And I'm walking away, holy moly, this place, what's going on in here? Yeah, and I say this all the time on this podcast. I say this all the time outside. There are so many awesome things happening in and around Huntington right now. So many good stories. And the West Edge Factory and what's going on there is another one. It really, really is. And Coalfield Development obviously being the leader of that.
Yeah.
So when you talked about back in 2021, the pieces were up in Morgantown, and then you came down this way to be a part of Coalfield Development. Was that a foregone conclusion that Mountain Mindful was going to be at West Edge Factory because Coalfield Development owned it? Like, this is how it's going to be?
Yeah, pretty much. I think ultimately our CEO at the time, Brandon Dennison, had this vision for the lifestyle brand, and all of it was going to begin there at West Edge, and that's where we still are today.
So I guess, and maybe I'm getting confused. He had this idea for a lifestyle brand with the wood shop, the lifestyle products, the apparel, etc. What was up in Morgantown that came to Huntington?
So there was a screen printing business called Sustain You, and so they did.
And you worked there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was exclusively screen printing.
Okay.
But they did have the eco mission base to that.
Got
it. Everything they were working with was like recycled organic materials for the most part.
Right.
And so that element really fit in well with the other parts that they were pulling together for this lifestyle brand. And so they acquired Sustain You.
Coalfield Development acquired it, yeah.
And so from there, that's where the lifestyle brand launched.
And one thing, too, talk about this. This is on the website. For every $25 that you spend creates 1 hour of paid training. How does all that work? What does all that add up to?
So that's the funding we're talking about when we talk about our crew members and trainees, and these are the folks that are making our wood products, making apparel. If you go to us for custom woodworking or custom apparel, they're going to be the folks screen printing your shirts or doing your embroidery. So that funding, those purchases go right back into the training that we're doing.
For people that don't know, talk about more specifically some of the products that Mountain Mindful has been able to create and sell. Talk about, my story with Dead and Company. That was the one that got me most excited about. I love the Grateful Dead. Luke, as I mentioned earlier, one day I saw him at Night Street Live, and he's wearing a Dead and Company shirt. And I go, we did a Grateful Dead night. I go, where in the heck did you get that? And he's like, we made it. And I went, what do you mean you made it? I mean, it was the official volunteer shirt that they have at their shows. He's like, we made it. And so I see that shirt, and I go to see Dead and Company once a year usually, and sure enough, there was that shirt. They have a thing at every Dead and Company show called Participation Row, where there's volunteers, and they're doing public service type stuff. I've learned about gorillas. I have written letters regarding mental health to roadies because they have a higher suicide rate. I literally wrote a postcard to a roadie. I've emailed my senators and legislators about climate change and all this stuff, right? And those volunteers are wearing shirts that are made in Huntington, West Virginia by Mountain Mindful. And I will tell them every time now, I'm like, do you know where your shirt was made? And they're like, no. I'm like, Huntington, West Virginia. Like, okay, great. And like, let me take a picture of it, and I send it to you every time. And so talk about that kind of stuff. That's just one little thing that you've done on levels like that.
Yeah, so a really interesting element to our business is we have the lifestyle brand where we have an amazing team of designers that design everything that you see on our site. But then we also have custom. So we have clients come to us who are really stoked about the work that we're doing, what our mission and values are, that aligns with what they're trying to accomplish. So exactly like what you're saying with Dead & Co., that was just a really perfect relationship because our values aligned with theirs. Yeah. So a lot of our custom clients, they'll come to us with their design, or we'll assist them with their design for apparel. And then we'll go to production with their shirts. At this point, out of Huntington, we have now shipped all over the globe. We've done large stadium tours for artists and shipped their T-shirts to London. Really, we're getting all over the globe right now with some of our custom
I thought everything was made in China and Vietnam and whatever else. Right? It's made here in Huntington.
Yeah. And it right on the shirt says proudly made in Appalachia.
Can you talk about some of those bands and artists and so forth that you're talking about?
Yeah, so we actually work with a larger client that networks through a lot of these artists. But recently we did shirts for the 1975. Pink recently had a tour. Honestly, just a handful of artists that...
Paramore?
Paramore was one,
yeah.
Dead and Co. Those are a lot of the more recent ones. We've been fortunate to get to see some really cool artwork come through the shop and send those shirts out into the world.
And then locally, you're involved with Marshall University Athletics, Tri-State Coldcats.
That has been honestly, that has been the flavor of the year for us. So we were really excited to be able to get licensing to do printing for the Tri-State Coldcats and for Marshall Baseball. We've also been setting up in the new Jack Cook Field gift shop. So if you're ever at one of the games, you can stop in and see the shirts that we've printed. And, it's such a fun design with the new Coldcats logo. So it's been fun to see the community engaging with that. But at the same time, while they're learning to support their new team, they're also learning about Mountain Mindful, the work we're doing, and it's a great relationship.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, full disclosure, Mountain Mindful has done stuff for our company, Kindred Communications, for our radio stations, and same thing. Like, I didn't want to do just our logo. We have cool logos, but I wanted to do something more and something special. And she was like, let me just let our design guys and girls will be more than glad to just have at it. And they just did just awesome, fun, cool stuff. So we did Dog Dazzle July 3rd in Huntington. Our headliner's named Kelsey Hart, up-and-coming country singer. Top 10 song right now in country music. He's on Curb Records.
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
There's a picture of him wearing one of the shirts that you all designed too.
That's really great.
And same thing. I'm really, really proud to pass out those shirts and give them to our listeners and our fans and so forth. And they see that MM logo made in Appalachia and tell them the story too. And the first thing everybody says is, "Holy cow, this feels so nice." The quality of all the shirts.
That's something we take very seriously. So we definitely, right now, something in our industry, and I think across the board, people have to really be aware of greenwashing is a problem. So
what does that mean?
So that's where a business might put forth a product and say that there's a sustainability component to it, but when you really get down into the metrics, maybe not so much.
Okay.
That's something we have to be very careful about. So we don't just take it at face value. We look into where are these shirts made, who's making them, what are their labor practices, what are these materials, are they truly organic, are they sustainably sourced? We consider for some clients, union made, USA made exclusively. So we really deep dive into those things. And then before anything ever goes live to folks, our team wears them, wash and wear. Let's see how it goes through a few cycles.
Got it.
Make sure those garments hold up over time. We want to make sure that anything that we do offer, we can stand behind and feel good about.
What are your suppliers like? Where do you get all your stuff from?
So because the garment industry is huge.
Sure.
However, I would say less than 5% of the garments out there are vendors that we would actually utilize. So
really? Yeah, sure.
We really want to make sure that if something says that it's recycled, what's the recycled content? Because some shirts will say up to 5% recycled. Well, up to 5% includes 0. So that kind of garment isn't going to be included in our line. We look to something that's a 50-50 blend of 50% recycled, 50% organic, or oftentimes, and I think it surprises folks, 100% recycled tees are a really nice poly blend. They're breathable, they're lightweight, which a lot of people are into right now, and they're super soft.
Talk about that. I mean, recycle, it's for ocean plastic bottles, right?
Yeah, often. So one shirt that we use from Royal Apparel is up to 8 plastic bottles go into each shirt that's made, and that's garbage that is diverted from ocean landfill type situations. So it's really easy for us because of the information that is provided by the manufacturer for us to track. And last year we had an incredible number of 200,000 some bottles that we had diverted from landfill that went into T-shirts instead.
Just you all alone.
Yeah. Through these partnerships. So there's a lot of exciting information like that's available, and as much as a client wants to deep dive and know, we can talk about that. And some have a debate between organic materials and recycled. There is no perfect green shirt.
Okay.
Microplastics are a thing, and that's something. But organic, you might have increased water usage. There's a lot to consider, and we're really transparent about that, and we're happy to have the conversation for folks who have those concerns.
What do you all want in terms of your products? I mean, your materials that you use. What do you want everything to be? If it's organic, how organic? If it's recycled, how recycled?
So,
do you all have those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so I would say anything below like a 40% probably isn't going to make the cut.
Recycled?
Yeah. Now, there are other things that are sustainably manufactured or sustainably grown U.S. cotton, and those are different avenues that we can pursue with clients, and it really just depends like how much of a deep dive they want to do on it. And some folks just want a blue t-shirt, and we're happy to meet them at that point as well, you know. But we'll always tell you, like, here's a spec sheet. It's going to tell you where the shirt was made, where it comes from, all of the details.
Sure.
And so you can feel really secure in the garments that you're getting from us.
Do you all try to work with other social enterprises?
Yeah, so for our lifestyle brand, we really from the get-go, this wasn't a business that we were making to be in competition with other local businesses. At the heart of what we do, we're trying to rebuild the Appalachian economy. So our partnerships are very important to us. That's why our whole lifestyle brand, we bring in, like, one of my favorite products we have is from Appalachian Botanical Company, and it's these really wonderful, like, body sprays they make. And if you look at the ingredients on it, you can read every word. It's like 5 or less, like honeysuckle essential oils and things. And they're really nice products, but you can also feel good about using them. So those kind of relationships, I think, are really at the heart of what we do.
Any challenges in finding these materials?
Yeah, absolutely. During the pandemic, the eco industry was hit particularly hard. So we did go through.
Why were they hit? I know everybody was hit, but what was their reason?
It's such a small sector of the bigger, of that bigger picture in textiles. And so it was just a challenge to be able to find enough supply to fulfill people's orders. And we went through about a year and a half of real struggle trying to, reconcile what our values were and what was available in the market to meet our customers' needs. Fortunately, we were able to get through that without compromising any of those standards. But for a while, there were times where it would be like, we can't quite get this, but how about this? And
for the most part, everybody was doing that, right?
Right, everybody played that game. And for the most part, I think it really worked out. So
a lot of times when people hear sustainability, they hear organic, they hear recycled, a lot of times they think it's going to be more expensive. Talk about that. Talk about your pricing. Is it more expensive?
To be really transparent, it's not going to be the cheapest. But I find that our prices typically align with other screen printing shops that are offering literally shirts from anywhere made out of anything. So I find pretty frequently we'll have folks reach out to us, and we actually have beat previous quotes they had.
I got it.
Yeah, so I won't pretend that there aren't challenges with that, but for the most part, we're right in line with the average screen printing shop.
And again, the quality of the product, and then knowing what is going into that product, all the good, again, the sustainability, you should care about that kind of stuff, and then what you're doing for your employees, the training, all that kind of stuff too. That's what you're also paying for that too.
Yeah,
that's built into that price, right?
Yeah, the story that comes with it, to me, carries a lot of weight, and it's something that you can feel good about every time you put that garment on.
Yeah.
Or if you sit down at one of our desks that are made out of reclaimed wood from an abandoned building somewhere here in Appalachia.
Yeah.
So all of the products that come out of our shop have a story. I think there's something really special about that.
Talk about the wood shop. What all do you do there? Start there.
Sure.
The different stuff that you make.
So we have an incredible team of woodworkers. It's managed by our main woodworker, Travis. He does just incredible work. So pretty much anything people come to us custom, they have accomplished, from doing. Recently, they just finished up some benches for the Huntington Children's Museum.
Wow.
I know you guys had an episode recently.
We did.
That was great.
Just opened yesterday, right?
Yeah,
I think, yes.
So if you guys are in there, you can see some Mountain Mindful benches, and those are made 100% of reclaimed wood out of...
Everything is reclaimed?
For that particular project, yes. Now, sometimes, due to the nature of woodworking, you'll have to use new materials, but our goal is to use as much reclaimed as possible, and we're very transparent about that on the website. For example, we have things like The herb strippers are all made by hand by our crew members and trainees. There's these beautiful little filigrees that they kind of carve into them. If you if you have the opportunity to check that stuff out on our website, like, you can really see the craftsmanship that goes into those objects, and I'm really proud of the team and the things they come up with there.
Where do you get your reclaimed wood? How do you do that?
Sure. So we have a decon team at Coalfield.
Okay.
And so they will go to different locations, and for various reasons, buildings will have to come down. We're already in the process of that. And those materials typically go to a landfill. A big part of what we do is taking those materials, bringing them into our shop. We have a wood kiln to dry them out and make them usable again, and then making products that are appropriate for those materials.
All over Appalachia? Is that where that's coming from?
Yeah, all over the region, yeah. So almost everything that Coalfield does kind of braids back into Appalachia.
Makes
They're
sense.
very, very conscientious of that.
So again, like on this reclaimed stuff, on the wood, are we talking like gutting old buildings and trying to restore them, and then like what we've gutted you all could possibly get? Are there any examples where some stuff has come from? I'm just trying to get a better idea of this.
I know that recently there was an old barn that had been brought down that was not too far outside of Huntington, but we aren't super involved in the element that
you just get it and you make it happen.
Where we get the raw materials and then we salvage them and try to turn them into something new. And heirloom quality is what we're shooting for.
Got it. What other opportunities do you see for growth and expansion for Mountain Mindful?
Right now, we're seeing both on the lifestyle end and custom for both the wood shop and apparel. We're seeing that explode. Okay. So it's a good challenge to have, but we have just started a second shift in our apparel shop, which is a wholly new thing for us.
So what time of the day is that?
So now we now have a shift that goes from 2 to 10.
2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yep.
What's the first one?
8 to 5.
8 to 5.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And so
added a second shift. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's to stay on top of that custom demand that we're getting, and to keep sending shirts all over the world.
Do you all have problems finding employees?
No. Actually, Coalfield's really a great partner in that regard, and in Appalachia, there's a lot of folks looking to work. Yeah. So we've been fortunate in that front as well.
Yeah. What else? What other opportunities for growth and expansion?
So through the wood shop, they're seeing a ton of custom work as well. They've been doing a lot of work with Marshall University as well, which has been great. And then our self-care line continues to grow. We keep looking for new partners to add to that. Really on all fronts, we're seeing that growth. Now, there are pinches to that. We are looking at possibly needing to acquire new equipment to maintain these levels of output, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to take that next step just like everyone before it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where do you buy? Is everything just sold on the website? I know obviously custom, that's different, but your skincare products and so forth, where is everything sold?
Mountainmindful.com.
Everything's online.
Right now, we don't have a brick and mortar at this time. We do occasionally do like a pop-up with something like 9th Street Live or other community events that we like to get engaged with. We have a really incredible production and events manager. Her name's Amanda Caldwell. She's kind of spearheading us getting out into the community more. So I wouldn't be surprised if more folks start hearing from her as we try to get more involved on a local level. But that's kind of what we're doing.
Do you ever see a brick and mortar store happening?
I hope so. I hope so. I
do too.
Yeah, I think it would be an exciting possibility. The one thing I have noticed is when you talk about it, that's one thing. When you see it and you touch it, that's another.
Of course.
And so we're always trying to get our products in front of people, get our story out there. So I think that might be a natural
I think if you had a
step.
small little storefront in Huntington somewhere, a 3rd or 4th Avenue somewhere, so people could touch it, see it, smell it, feel it, literally,
Right.
smell it with your skincare products, I think that would be another game changer.
Yeah.
Again, so many people don't know who you are, what you're doing, right?
Improving our storytelling this year was a big part of our goal. And so, I think that's a really exciting possibility on the horizon.
What challenges do you all face?
Well, not having a brick and mortar location is a challenge.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful that we don't grow too quickly. Keeping a consistent quality product is always our top priority for our customers. So we have to be sure that we don't take on more than we can execute at that level.
Of course. You earlier you talked about Coalfield Development's mission, which is also part of your mission. Rebuilding the Appalachian economy. We're now over 3 years in, 2021, April of 2021. Are you seeing that? Are you starting to see like your impact, or when do you think you will see that impact?
I think, at the most foundational level, the folks who have come through our program successfully, and the stories of that, we stay in touch. Yeah. And they're reaching out and they're saying, actually, I decided to go on and pursue my bachelor's degree,
Sure.
or I'm now stepping into something in the field that you guys helped prepare me for. Those success stories really are like the biggest part of what we do.
Sure. Do you all do anything with, you mentioned Marshall a couple of times, do you all have any programs or any initiatives like lined up with Marshall University?
Outside of, right now, we're just kind of dipping our toes into that first part with Marshall Baseball and Coldcats. We also have been doing some woodworking with their lockers and things like that, but I'm really excited to see how that relationship will continue to grow over the coming years. Yeah.
And I didn't ask you this. How did you get into this? I don't think you're not a woodworker, are you?
No.
And you all are a jack of all trades company, right?
Yeah. Well, Coalfield, is incredibly diverse, and then even Mountain Mindful. When it's a lot to just explain the core of what we're doing.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic, but it's a lot. And my background is actually in the fine art printmaking, like that. So that's where I went to college at WVU. I took a silk screening class over the summer as a throwaway class, and then had this amazing professor, Joseph Lupo, and that was it.
Okay.
I took that class, I was toast. Like I was going to be a printmaker regardless of anything else. And then after I graduated, I had my own printmaking business. I still have that, but there was definitely a desire of I got to be around print in whatever way possible. And while fine art printmaking and production screen printing are two different worlds.
What is fine art making? I mean, what?
Instead of using paint, you're using print processes to create a finished piece.
Got it. Okay.
And those are pretty diverse, but screen printing is one of those elements. And I wanted to be around print, and so I had applied to Sustain U just to get closer to that. Little did I know that this thing that already aligned with my values. I cared about sustainability. I cared about print. I cared about a good customer experience. That Coalfield would come in and then just take this to a whole new level.
Yeah, right.
And I was so fortunate to be along for the ride. Honestly, I feel like the universe stepped in and just did me a solid.
That's
there.
all right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What percentage of your sales are in the region versus going outside of the Huntington area?
That's a good question. I would say maybe 30% of our sales are Central Appalachia.
And the other side you're going outside.
Yeah.
Where all do you all? I mean, obviously you mentioned England. I'd say those are not rare, but those aren't the.
They're the less common.
Less common. Yeah. Where are the more common locations?
More common. We see a lot of work coming out of Washington State, California, a lot of New York. But honestly, all over the place. We have customers that they have an eco lawn care service in California. They come to us for their garments.
Really?
We'll have other folks that are just doing a 5K and they care that their shirts are recycled.
How are they finding you now?
That's a good question. It's pretty diverse. Word of mouth has been a huge help. The simple things, and they're said to death, but sharing a post, following someone on Instagram, things like that really do help these businesses
It's the best form of advertising. I mean, word of mouth is always the best form of advertising. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, always. Yes.
And so I think because we really, on all elements of our business, we really care about the client, we care about the product, and we want them to feel secure all the way through that ordering process, all the way to fulfillment. I think that's how we've gotten so many strong relationships, and those, in just a really magical way, have branched out into other relationships and like-minded values and visions, and kind of one leads to another.
That's right. Yeah. What kind of goals do you have?
For our business?
Yeah.
I want to see it continue to grow. I want to continue to have a robust training program for our crew members and trainees that come through. And I want us to continue to elevate our products and our offerings for the folks that visit us.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I want to get our stuff in front of people because I think the items speak for themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
What percentage of like your time is on the business side of things versus on the training and educational side of things?
So we have within that program, we have crew chiefs. So those are the folks that really are working literally alongside our crew members and trainees. So if we're at the printing press, they're standing alongside them. If they're sanding in the wood shop, there's a crew chief next to them. So the crew chief, 100% of their workday is in that role.
Got it.
That allows me a little bit more time to step away from that and kind of work more on the bigger picture for Mountain Mindful. So while I am in the same space and everything and talking with these folks and working with them every day, I would say probably only 10-20% of my time is in like involved in that training component.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and most of the focus is on like the business.
Yeah, and let's talk about this too. Anybody that's listening, you don't have to do an order of 5,000 shirts. Right. I mean, you can do literally one piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what's like the minimum other orders for?
Like if in apparel, like we typically shoot for a minimum order of 40. Now when we're in like peak season, sometimes that has to either like we might look at a longer time out on that order. But it's really important to us that we don't get so many big fish that we can't forget like where we came from.
That's right.
And honestly, some of our most like our repeat clients that we have a really great time with are consistently coming to us with a smaller unit order, and we're happy to help them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that 40 order can become 100 next year.
Yeah.
And then it's 200, and then it's 1,000, then it's a 10,000 one, right?
A super rad part of the job is those people that came. They're like, "Hey, I'm starting this thing. I can only do 40 units." It's like, let's do it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Next year they come back, they're doing 200.
Exactly.
And so not only are we seeing our own business grow, but we're watching a lot of the people we partner with, say like, "Hey, that design was great. I can't believe it. We sold out. Let's do it again."
Yeah.
So that's a really cool part of this is just getting to see this continued growth, not only with the personnel in our shop, but a lot of the folks that we work with.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know I said it earlier. You've been here now 3 years. I mean, you've been in Huntington now for 3 years. I mean, are you seeing changes? Are you feeling this, or am I just making this up? Am I just crazy for
that? Like a hype in Huntington?
Yeah.
I have been telling family that I have I have family in Austin and out in Seattle, and I'm like, y'all, I'm telling you something magic is happening here. Like there is an upswing happening, and the people here have been like hungry for this for a long time.
That's right.
And a lot of folks have been working really hard. And I don't want to pretend like I came in here. No. You know what I mean? But like I'm bearing witness.
Yeah.
And there's an incredible energy brewing here. And I think that's only going to continue to take off. Like, we are looking at a rocket ship. Yeah. And it is fully fueled. And I am really excited to see what the
Sound like the governor. The same rocket ship, man, I've pretty much lived in Huntington for over 30 years. Was born here. We moved away for about 10 years. Came back when I was 10. Literally born, and then we moved away right after I was born, and then we came back when I was 10, and after I graduated from Marshall, I left for a couple of years and then came back. And there were times and I've been back now for 16 years or so, and there's times sometimes I would be embarrassed, not embarrassed to be from here, but maybe not as proud. And now I'm proud. I'm proud to tell our story, and if anybody wants to talk trash about my area, I'm ready to not fight, but I'm going to stand up for it. I'm like, no, there's 100%. Good stuff happening right here, and it's a pretty cool little town too. So
I can relate to that completely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks have to reconcile a complicated relationship with the state.
Of course, it's a love-hate for me all day, every day, right?
Yeah, I came up in it, and when you're young, it's definitely easier to be angry about it. But I had to work through a lot of that stuff myself.
Yeah.
But ultimately, where I landed was realizing there's something incredibly beautiful about the nature, like in this state.
Yeah.
But also the resilience of the people.
Yeah.
So I have lived all over the country, but there's something special about Appalachia. There's definitely something special about West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, though, that we are honest that, like, we didn't start there. I do meet people who are true believers from day one, never had that complicated relationship with the state. I'm really happy and stoked for them.
That's right.
But like I had a different journey to get there.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we're honest about that because, we've got a lot of hard work to do. And I think honesty is going to be an important component of getting there.
That's right. Anything else you want to add? Anything I missed?
No, I was just really excited to be here.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email at info@mountainmindful.com, or you guys can give us a call. I'm happy to talk to you anytime about the work that we do or the products we offer.
At mountainmindful.com is a great place to start as well.
Yes.
All the contact information, everything that you're doing.
Yes.
Go to that, look at it, because I feel like if you listen to this for the last 30 minutes or whatever it was, a lot of information out there, and you're like, what? They do wood? They do sure? Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Learn about it. And can people, call and set an appointment? Can they can they tour the facility and see what you're all doing too?
Like we do have periods of time where we'll be working with certain clients that will have a closed shop, but we can always schedule around that. And if someone wants to come check out what we're doing, we are happy to show you around.
It's worth a trip.
Yeah, and it is a rad space, and just the West Edge building that we're in generally is amazing. And I really encourage people to check out West Edge generally, just for all the events that are happening in the community. I don't know if the word's getting out enough about that.
No, it's not.
They're doing stuff all the time.
Again, it's hard. I go back to Luke, tell me go out there and tour it, and I'm like, what? And same thing. It's one of the I hate see to believe it. Because that makes you sound like a skeptic or a cynic or whatever. But it is, you got to see it to understand it. That's what I'll say, because it's so freaking huge, and we're like event space, art gallery, wood shop, art shop. They're building a theater in there as well, like a black box theater.
Very exciting.
And refresh, and all this solar hauler started in there.
Yes,
they're still there.
They're still a tenant.
They're still there.
It's covered in beautiful murals now,
it
too.
is.
So, like, literally, if you just drive by, there are murals along both sides of the building, and they are lovely.
Yeah, and again, it's just like I keep saying, there's so many awesome things happening. That's one piece of that puzzle of just good stuff that's happening in this area.
Yeah,
so
it's exciting.
And that's our episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and even leave us a 5-star review. Season 2 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Auto Mall of Huntington, MosesMeansMore.com, and powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications.